5 of the best coaches in the NBA currently, in no order. My name is Joshua Envyerz. The first coach that comes to my mind when thinking about some of the greatest coaches in the NBA currently and of all time has to be Gregg Popovich of the San Antonio Spurs. Pop started coaching the San Antonio Spurs back in 1996, the year I was born, and all throughout my life I've been able to witness greatness at the coaching position, the GM, and the players in the San Antonio Spurs organization. Pop's worst year was his first season with the San Antonio Spurs, only winning 17 games. But then every year after that, except for one year where he won 37 games, he's been a 50 plus and over record as a head coach for the San Antonio Spurs. Not to mention he has 5 championships under his belt and hopefully more to come depending on how long he decides to continue to coach. It's definitely going to be weird not seeing him on the sideline one day. So for now, we got to cherish him for what he is, one of the best coaches currently in the league today, and arguably one of the top 5 head coaches of all time. Speaking of other old heads currently coaching in the NBA still, Rick Carlisle of the Dallas Mavericks. Carlisle got a start with Detroit back in 2001 as a head coach, and throughout his entire career as a head coach, he's never had a team win less than 35 games. But that might change this season coaching the Dallas Mavericks. If you look at the guys on the roster of this team currently, you wonder to yourself, why isn't this team dead last in the league? Even though they are kind of close. Carlisle is one of the best to get the most out of his players. I mean, just look at his point guard position currently with the Dallas Mavericks. He has guys like Deron Williams, who most would consider not even a starting caliber point guard anymore, Devin Harris and JJ Barea. Not to mention even a few years ago with Monte Ellis and OJ Mayo being on this team, getting the most out of them when they were with Dallas. People were quick to throw coaches under the bus and fire them as soon as possible. Hopefully Carlisle can keep his job in years to come with the Dallas Mavericks. Next up, we have Mike Budenholzer of the Atlanta Hawks. A relatively new coach, or at least the head coach. He's been an assistant coach with the San Antonio Spurs and has won multiple championships with them, and has only coached the full 3 seasons so far, going on 4 if you count this one. And already I feel like Coach Bud is one of the top 5 best coaches currently in the league, and hopefully he's able to keep his job for quite some time now, considering just like Rick Carlisle, he's able to do a lot with a roster that isn't the best. The Hawks have been making playoff appearances year after year, and this year looks to be the same, even with the trade of Kyle Korver and the rumors of Paul Millsap being traded, and the signing of Dwight Howard coming back home to Atlanta. Throughout all of this and the many roster changes in the past few years, he's already established himself, in my opinion, as an elite coach with just in a short amount of years. Now, if only Atlanta Hawks fans actually cared for their team. Hashtag move the Hawks to Seattle. Next up, another head coach with only a few years under his belt in the NBA, Celtics head coach Brad Stevens. It seems like all of these head coaches on this list really do get the most out of their players, and Brad Stevens is no different. Prior to his 3 years head coaching the Celtics, going on 4 years, he head coached for the Butler Bulldogs, the NCAA team. And his win record with this Butler Bulldogs team was actually pretty good across multiple years. He even led his teams multiple times to the Final Four, unfortunately only to fall short in the NCAA Finals. Which is great because on that Butler team, there wasn't really any NBA talent besides Gordon Hayward. And I guess Shelvin Mack if you count him, considering he's still in the league today. And now he seems like a perfect fit in Boston. His first year coaching the Celtics, they're in the rebuilding phase and they had a young core ahead of them as well. Now, a few years later, Isaiah Thomas is having a career year, and the Boston Celtics look to be a threat in the Eastern Conference. If only they could get that one piece to push them over the edge so they could actually beat LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. A college coach that proved himself to be a very solid NBA coach. Last but not least on this list, the man Stan Van Gundy of the Detroit Pistons. Stan Van Gundy's greatest success in the NBA as a head coach was obviously with the whole Dwight Howard and Orlando Magic team, but unfortunately it seems like Dwight Howard ran him out of town and got him fired with the Orlando Magic, which is a shame because they made it to the NBA Finals and had a play style that is really relevant today. You know, they have one big man in Dwight Howard and a whole bunch of shooters. Looking at the Detroit Pistons today, that's kind of his whole game plan with Andre Drummond, or at least that's what it looks like, except for this Detroit Pistons team, they need some better shooters, or at least consistent shooters, at least, because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's like a remixed version of Bradley Beal who loves shooting threes, and when he makes them, but when he doesn't, he doesn't. So now that Stan Van Gundy's with the Detroit Pistons, he has a lot to say with what happens with the roster. Looking at the record right now, you know, it's kind of suspect from what I thought they would be at the beginning of this season, especially because I thought Reggie Jackson would be able to bounce back from injury faster than he has. So we'll have to see what happens with Stan Van Gundy and the Detroit Pistons and see if he decides to trade Reggie Jackson, considering there has been rumors about that. So with that said, those are my top 5 best coaches in the NBA. Let me know yours in the comment section below. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, along with sharing it on any social media to help my channel grow. If you like the art style, be sure to check out some of my other videos with similar concepts, along with following me on any social media to see what video I'm working on next. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.